I inherited my husband's dilapidated garage, but what I discovered inside changed my life forever. Emily stood frozen, gazing at the cracked and peeling door of the garage that had once belonged to Jason, her late husband. Every scratch on the surface carried memories, whispers of laughter and love. Her heart ached, the air thick with the bittersweet scent of nostalgia. The garage loomed before her like a forgotten tomb, filled with everything that once made her life complete. But as sadness washed over her, curiosity prodded her forward. What was hiding inside? She hesitated, her hand hovering over the rusty doorknob, but soon enough, she pushed it open, the creak echoing in the hushed silence. Inside, dust motes danced in the slivers of sunlight, illuminating the chaos. Tools were piled haphazardly, barely visible beneath layers of grime. The shadows were thick, concealing more than just forgotten objects. Here lay the remnants of their life together. With each item Emily sorted through, memories flooded back. The first time Jason brought home that rickety old table saw, excited to build their children a treehouse. The laughter that ensued when they realized they had forgotten to buy wood. Yet as she dug deeper, the emotional weight shifted. Below the dusty surface, she unearthed stacks of yellowed letters, each one addressed to the local Veterans Association. They weren't just letters, they were a testament to Jason's heart, a celebrated commitment to his fellow veterans, and a vision for a community center to help struggling families, a vision that spoke directly to her heart. Tears blurred her vision as she traced the carefully drawn blueprints with shaky fingers. Jason had poured his dreams onto the pages, notes scribbled in his familiar handwriting, crafting a future she had never known he wanted. A flicker of hope ignited within her. Perhaps this garage was more than a mere storage space, it was a launch pad for dreams. But just as her determination began to swell, her sister Sarah barged in, a whirlwind of practicality. This place could be worth a fortune. We can sell it, and you can finally buy that condo in the city you've always wanted, she said, eyes gleaming. Emily's heart sank. How could Sarah not see the potential of Jason's dreams? An intense debate unfolded, filling the dusty garage with tension. You don't get it. Emily cried, her voice cracking. This isn't just about selling property. It's about what he built, what he wanted to give to our community. Sarah crossed her arms, a look of disbelief settling on her face. It's just a garage, Emily. You need to think about your future. Old childhood arguments resurfaced, exposing deep-rooted rifts they had long thought healed, complicating their bond. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The heated conversation faded as Emily stepped outside for air, her heart pounding. The shadows of doubt loomed large over her. Despite the family tensions, she felt an undeniable tug towards her neighbors. Lively discussions with the wise old veteran and single mothers, sharing dreams over coffee late at night, began to weave a new fabric of connection around her. As the days turned into weeks, Emily summoned the courage to organize a community meeting right in that garage. She envisioned it as a gathering of hope, where they could share their dreams and struggles. But as chairs filled with anxious faces, she sensed the uncertainty in the air. Could she unite them to forge a path forward? Just as excitement brewed, the door creaked again. What was waiting for her just beyond that threshold? Emily stood at the threshold, her instincts sharpening, an unease swirling inside her. The door creaked open, revealing a figure standing just beyond, Marcus, the neighborhood handyman with a heart as big as his biceps. His gaze was steady, his presence grounding in the charged atmosphere. He held something behind his back, a hint of mystery lining his smile. Hey, Emily, he said, stepping forward, I heard you were gathering everyone here tonight. The warmth in his voice was reassuring, and for a moment, her anxiety hung in the air like a fading echo. Yeah, I am. Just trying to find a way to honor Jason's dreams, she replied, her voice trembling slightly. She gestured towards the scattered chairs. But I'm not sure if they'll come. Don't worry about that, Marcus urged, his eyes twinkling with encouragement. He revealed what he was hiding: an old toolbox, its surface worn but clearly loved. Thought I could bring this. It belonged to my dad. He taught me everything I know about fixing things. I thought you might want it for the meeting. A wave of gratitude washed over her. Small gestures like this breathed life into the vision she struggled to maintain. She took the toolbox, feeling the weight of it, both literally and metaphorically. It was more than mere tools, it symbolized support, unity, and the encouragement she needed to rally her community. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm orange glow, the neighborhood slowly filled the garage. Faces appeared, some uncertain but eager, others carrying their own burdens and stories. They settled into their seats, the air thick with anticipation. Emily felt their gazes shift from her, questioning if she could embody the hope they carried for a brighter future. Thank you all for coming, she began, her voice steadying with each word. I know this place holds a lot of memories, just like it does for all of you. Jason wanted this garage to be a hub for our community. To dream, to believe, and to grow together, just like we did. I want to keep that vision alive. A quiet murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Emily sensed their commingled hopes and yearnings as she continued, pouring out her heart. Each story that followed was a patch stitched into the fabric of their neighborhood. A struggling single mother shared her wishes for better support systems for working parents. The old veteran spoke about bringing youth and elders together. The shy girl in the back mentioned a community garden to stimulate both growth and nourishment. With every passing moment, the energy shifted. Excitement mingled with chatter, laughter bubbled, and a collective sense of purpose wrapped around them. Emily felt herself emerging from the fog of grief and doubt, realizing she wasn't alone. They were building something beautiful out of the remnants Jason left behind, but as ideas flourished, a question lingered: how would they fund this project? Just then, she noticed Sarah standing at the door, arms crossed, skepticism woven across her brow. The tension from their earlier argument resurfaced, thickening the air once again. Emily, Sarah's voice cut through. You really think this will go anywhere? This is nothing without money. The pit of Emily's stomach twisted. Was her sister right? Could their dreams survive without financial backing? The weight of responsibility crashed down, momentarily dulling her spark. But as she looked around at the faces of her neighbors, she remembered the toolbox, the warmth of Marcus' support, and the hope that thrummed between them. Sometimes, she called out to the crowd, determined, you have to step into uncertainty to find what you're meant to do. As the words left her lips, something shifted in the atmosphere, grounding Emily's thoughts. She leaned against the dusty workbench, the chaos of dreams swirling in her mind. And just then, a soft voice piped up from the back of the crowd. I know a fundraiser we can try. Emily's heart raced, excitement mingling with dread. What other surprises awaited them? Would they galvanize their dreams into reality, or would uncertainties pull them apart? The murmurs grew louder as the crowd buzzed with curiosity. Emily felt a rush of adrenaline, her heart pounding in her chest. Who had spoken up? She turned, trying to catch a glimpse of that hopeful face. Who said that? She asked, searching the room. The shy girl from the back, wearing a faded baseball cap, lifted her hand nervously. It's me, Julia, she said, her cheeks reddening. I've seen online that other neighborhoods have done bake sales and car washes to raise money for their projects. I think we could do something like that. A ripple of excitement surged through the gathering. People exchanged glances, their faces lighting up as the thought of a community event began to take shape. Emily could feel the energy shifting again, stronger this time. That's a fantastic idea, Julia. Emily beamed, her voice growing stronger. A bake sale sounds perfect. We could have a block party too. Everyone could pitch and maybe set up tables and share their favorite recipes. Laughter and chatter built up again, mingling with quick suggestions. Ideas flowed like water, and Emily felt the heaviness in her heart begin to lift. Each voice added a new layer of hope, illuminating a vision of what they could create together. But then Sarah's skeptical tone cut in again. Wait a minute. Who's going to take care of all of this? People are busy with their own lives. It's going to take more than just ideas to make this happen. Emily glanced at her sister, feeling that familiar mix of frustration and love. I know it'll be a lot of work, but we can share the tasks. If everyone chips in, we can make it happen. Think of all the kids who could benefit from a support center, or the seniors who love a community garden. For a moment, silence loomed as everyone grappled with the reality of what was at stake. Was it possible to come together? Marcus stepped forward, his voice warm and reassuring. I can help organize everything. I've worked a lot of events before. Plus, I know some local businesses that might want to donate supplies. Emily felt a surge of gratitude for him, the mix of his kindness and help breathing life into her resolve. Yes. That would be amazing, Marcus. As more neighbors spoke up with skills they could offer, Emily leaned into the hope budding around her. They discussed timing, location, and promotion ideas, reveling in the thrill of possibility. Then, just when Emily thought the room couldn't feel any more electric, Sarah unexpectedly broke her silence. Okay. I will help too, but only if we can ensure that it's organized properly. I don't want chaos. Emily's breath hitched. It was a start, a step towards healing their rift. Thank you, Sarah. We need your help and perspective. Let us do this together. Hope glittered in the air like the nearing stars above them. Emily felt something new rising within her, a fire ignited by the shared dreams of her community. As laughter bubbled and conversations flourished, she caught Marcus's eye. His smile reassured her, giving her confidence, and just as she turned to dive back into planning, a loud crash punctured the excitement. The back door had swung open, revealing a dark silhouette. What is going on here? A gruff voice boomed, leaving every heart in the garage suspended in uncertainty. Emily's pulse raced as she glanced at the uncertain faces around her. Who was this newcomer? What would happen next? The figure stepped into the flickering light, his features obscured by the shadows. Emily squinted, trying to make sense of the scene. The excitement from moments before now hung heavy in the air, tension pulling every face taut. Who are you? She managed, trying to sound firm despite her thudding heart. The newcomer shifted, revealing a white tank top and rugged jeans, the edges frayed and faded. He stood with arms crossed, his brow furrowing as he surveyed the crowd. I live next door. Didn't he realize I was gonna stumble into some kind of party, he said, his voice skeptical. Emily recognized him now, Jake, the quiet neighbor who mostly kept to himself. The kids in the neighborhood whispered stories about him, tales of solitude and scavenging through town. We're planning a community event to raise money for the support center, Emily said, rallying her voice to fill the uncomfortable silence. Yeah? Good luck with that, Jake replied, turning as if he were about to walk away. But something in Emily's eyes must have caught his attention, slowing him down. Wait. She called, her voice cutting through the tension. Why not join us? You could help. Everyone can contribute. Jake shifted on his feet, rubbing the back of his neck. The air felt thick with hesitation. Look, he started, but then stopped, his gaze drifting to the ground. Without thinking, Sarah stepped forward. It's important, Jake. We need people who are willing to make an effort. If we don't come together, what's the point? Her words seemed to hang in the air, inviting him in. Emily felt the others stirring again, the atmosphere shifting as curiosity and hope mingled. All right, Jake finally said, the corner of his mouth twitching slightly. I'll help. But I don't bake. I can move things and make sure everything's in line. That's perfect. Emily exclaimed, feeling a wave of gratitude for his acceptance. She couldn't ignore the faint spark in his eyes, a sign that he might want to be part of something bigger than himself. As the group began to share chores and brainstorm more ideas, Emily couldn't shake a new feeling that bubbled inside her. It was the sense of a community forming. The tension that had pulsed moments before now faded into laughter and genuine connection. Julia suggested they set up a sign-up sheet, organizing who would bring what for the bake sale. Everyone was excited, showing smiles that felt contagious. Even Sarah's usual seriousness lightened as she helped Julia outline their tasks, yet amidst the laughter, Emily's thoughts drifted. She was hyper-aware of every interaction, each brightening face sparking a renewed vision. Everyone was opening up. This was what she had hoped for, their connections moving beyond the petty arguments from before, transforming into real collaboration. Suddenly, a gently tapping broke through to the group. A high school student, Anna, stood just outside the door. "Sorry to interrupt," she said, holding a notebook. "I heard about your plans. Can I help? I want to do my part for the neighborhood." Emily felt her heart swell. This was the kind of spark they needed, a ripple effect igniting hope across their block. Before Emily could reply, a motorcycle roared to life down the street, its sound drowning out the chatter. Everyone turned their heads, curiosity piqued. As the rider slowed to a stop, Emily could see the gleam of a familiar helmet and jacket. "Marcus. What are you planning, a parade?" he joked, stepping off the bike with a big grin, oblivious to the earlier disruption. "Something like that," she laughed, every trace of apprehension arising in her chest quickening into excitement. But even as laughter rolled through the garage, a thought nagged at the back of her mind. What if they weren't ready for what lay ahead? The challenges, the potential conflicts from pulling so many together. The thought tangled with the joy around her, making her question what risks were connected to this community experiment. Could they truly come together and make a difference? Or would old wounds tear them apart before they even began? The atmosphere was electric, the buzz of excitement palpable. Yet within it, something stirred. Emily could sense that this was just the beginning. What would happen when they faced their first obstacle? Jake looked around, still standing at the edge of the gathering. The laughter and excitement pulsed through the air like a heartbeat, and for a moment, he seemed almost hesitant. Emily watched him, hoping he wouldn't change his mind and slip away into his solitary world again. Marcus leaned against his motorcycle, glancing at Jake with curiosity. "Hey man, I'm Marcus. Nice to see a new face around here." The thin ice surrounding Jake began to crack, just a bit. He offered a quick nod but avoided direct eye contact, clearly uncomfortable with the sudden attention. "Are you going to help, too?" Anna chimed in, her youthful enthusiasm infectious. "We need all hands on deck. Plus, we might need some muscle for the heavy lifting." Jake raised an eyebrow, amusement flickering for a second before fading back into his reserved demeanor. "Yeah, I can do that," he said slowly, the words tentative. "Perfect." Julia clapped a hand to her forehead playfully. "Now I need people to help plan the layout for the bake sale table. Who's in?" Hands shot up and excited chatter filled the space, but Emily caught a glimpse of Jake leaning against the wall, observing rather than participating. She stepped up to him. "You know, we could really use your insight. It helps to have someone like you around who knows how to keep things organized." He looked surprised as if he hadn't anticipated her interest. "I'm not sure what I can contribute," he muttered, but the uncertainty in his voice hinted at a growing willingness. "Just share your ideas," she encouraged, her eyes bright with sincerity. "You might see things we don't." Emily felt a swell of hope watching the group come together. They were all so different ages, backgrounds, stories, but in this moment, they were united for a common cause. "All right," Jake finally said, a faint hint of a smile creeping onto his lips. "I can help with the layout. We'll need to make sure everything flows smoothly." "See? That's the spirit." Emily cheered, drawing some amused glances from the rest of the group. Hours passed as they brainstormed, designed posters, and divided tasks. Stories were shared, laughter reverberated, and the tension from earlier melted into genuine camaraderie. For the first time in a long while, Jake found himself laughing, contributing jokes that elicited chuckles from everyone around him. "Who knew you were so funny?" Anna teased him. "I have my moments," he shot back, his tone light. As Emily glanced around the garage, she caught sight of Jake engaged in light-hearted banter with Sarah. This connection felt like a small victory. Maybe the barriers that once constructed walls in their neighborhood would begin to erode. But then a sudden silence fell as a familiar figure appeared at the entrance. The sight of Emily's estranged neighbor, Ms. Wilson, jolted her. The old tension returned, filling the space like heavy fog. Emily had seen the woman so many times, always keeping her distance, but what did she want now? "Hey, folks. Mind if I join?" Ms. Wilson's voice was a sharp contrast to the warmth that had recently enveloped them. The group exchanged quick, uncomfortable glances, unsure of how to respond. With that, Emily felt her stomach knot. There was so much potential here, but could past disputes surface again? Sure, she finally said, forcing a smile. "We're just discussing the community event." As Ms. Wilson stepped inside, Jake crossed his arms again, the momentary lightness now replaced with a shadow of unease. Emily caught his eye, and understanding passed between them. Could they hold on to their newfound harmony, or would old conflicts threaten to shatter it? The stakes just got higher, and Emily's heart raced. It felt like a turning point, but was she ready for what it might bring? What would happen if they couldn't find common ground again? Emily glanced anxiously at Ms. Wilson. The air in the garage shifted, and the warmth that had filled the space now felt 10 degrees colder. How could she allow the past to creep into this moment when things had finally started to feel right? "Mind if I take a look around?" Ms. Wilson surveyed the clutter, her voice tinged with a hint of skepticism. "This place could use a good clean." Jake shifted his weight, his body language tight like a coiled spring, as if any sudden movement could break the fragile peace. The group exchanged hesitant looks. Anna's enthusiasm dimmed slightly, her brow furrowed. Emily cleared her throat, trying to gather her thoughts. "Actually, we're working on a community bake sale to raise money for local charities," she said, her words somewhat tentative, but determined. "It's just a small gathering." "Right, I know all about your little fundraisers," Ms. Wilson interrupted, an edge creeping into her tone. "But if you think a bake sale is going to mend what has been broken in this neighborhood, you're in for a surprise." The words hung in the air, heavy with old grievances. Emily's pulse quickened. She wanted to respond, to argue back, but she also understood the history they shared sometimes. Unresolved issues ran deeper than anyone realized. "Let's just focus on making something positive, shall we?" Marcus chimed in, trying to defuse the situation. "Everyone's welcome." "Is that right?" Ms. Wilson crossed her arms. "I've always felt like an outsider around here. And frankly, I wasn't the one to put those walls up." Jake glanced at Emily, an unspoken worry in his gaze. For someone who had just found a sense of belonging, it felt like the floor was about to collapse. He opened his mouth as if to speak, but hesitated. "Everyone deserves a second chance, don't you think?" Emily forced herself to say, her voice slightly shaking. "Maybe we could find some common ground?" Ms. Wilson's eyes softened for a moment, and it felt like hope flickered. "I just don't want to waste my time pretending everything is fine. It never is." "I get that," Jake finally spoke, his voice quiet but steady. "But maybe if we work together, we can change that." A challenge hung in the air between them, punctuated by a flicker of understanding. The unexpected support from Jake surprised Emily. She had seen how hard these last few moments had been for him. It was brave to speak up, especially when the stakes felt so high. "Let's just channel this energy into something productive," Julia stepped in, offering Ms. Wilson a small smile. "We can decide together how best to set up the bake sale. You could actually help us." "I doubt I'll be much use," Ms. Wilson murmured, still defensive, but her tone softened just a fraction. "But I might have some ideas." Slowly, the ice began to thaw. The group started brainstorming again, brainstorming ways to make the event appealing. The tension in the garage eased slightly, though Emily couldn't shake the dread in her stomach. Could they really hope to project positivity into a situation built on years of division? As they worked, Emily watched Jake closely, intrigued by the way he interacted with everyone. His smile had grown, his body language uncoiling. She could see how their shared struggle had edged him closer to true acceptance in this quirky little community. Something shifted in Emily, too. she began to see beyond the past troubles. They all had burdens to carry, some heavier than others, but here they were, trying to lighten their loads together. Just when it felt like they might bridge the gap, the garage door swung open again. This time the light fell on a figure that cast a long shadow. Kevin, her old classmate, the guy who once made her high school days unbearable, stood there, eyebrows raised in surprise. "What is going on?" he asked, surveying the gathering with skepticism. Emily felt her heart drop. Wasn't this day supposed to be about connection and healing? What had just begun to mend could be torn apart again in an instant. With a sinking feeling, she realized Kevin might not be the only specter from her past to emerge. Today. What hidden histories were lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to disrupt their hopeful plans? The silence stretched like a taut string as Kevin's presence hung between them. Emily felt her breath catch. Could things slip back into the fractured past just because he was here? She tried to collect her thoughts, but deep down, dread was flooding her mind. "What is going on?" Kevin repeated, this time with a hint of mockery in his voice. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, soaking in the scene like a cat watching a mouse. The group's attention shifted uncomfortably. "Hey, Kevin." Emily stammered, wishing she could somehow make the ground swallow her whole. "We're just planning a bake sale for charity. You know, to help the community." His eyes narrowed. "A bake sale?" he scoffed. "You really think that's going to make any difference?" Ms. Wilson bristled, stepping forward. "No, but it could start the conversation." "A conversation?" Kevin chuckled, shaking his head. "You think you can just sweep everything under the rug with cookies and cupcakes?" Tension crackled in the air. Emily's heart raced. She had hoped this gathering would be a chance for healing, but here was Kevin, a vivid reminder of all that weighed her down. "Actually, it's not just about selling cookies," Jake interjected, his voice steady. "It's about building connections, bringing this community together." "Is that laughable or just idealistic?" Kevin shot back, raising an eyebrow. With each exchange, Emily felt like she was watching a car crash in slow motion. There was nothing she could do to stop it. Memories of her high school days flooded back, the whispers, the jokes, the way he had always managed to make her feel less than. "Look," Marcus intervened, trying to keep the peace. "We all have our differences. But today, we're focusing on positive change. Come on, you could join us." "Why would I want to do that?" Kevin said, his tone laced with disdain. "I don't see the point in pretending." Emily took a deep breath. "Nothing will change if we don't try," she said, surprising even herself with the strength in her voice. "If you're not interested in helping, then at least don't make it harder for us." Kevin shrugged, an unreadable expression crossing his face. Was that annoyance or curiosity? Ms. Wilson's brow furrowed. "You don't have to be an enemy, Kevin," she said softly. "This is about healing. For all of us." Silence fell again, but this time it felt different. Maybe a spark of understanding was flickering beneath the disagreements. Emily dared to hope. "I'll think about it," Kevin finally said, his tone begrudging. He turned to leave but paused at the door. "But don't expect me to roll over for cookies." With that, he disappeared, leaving a tension-filled gap behind. The group remained quiet, a mixture of shock and relief rippling through the air. "Wow," Julia said, breaking the silence first. "That was something." "I didn't expect him to hear us out," Emily admitted, still feeling shaken. "But he's not the only one with ties to the past," Ms. Wilson said carefully. "We all bring baggage, but it's how we deal with it that counts." "You showed courage today, Emily." Jake nodded, his eyes warm. "We're stronger together." Emily felt hope welling up inside. Maybe this was just a start. Maybe they could confront the ghosts of their pasts instead of running from them. Suddenly, a sense of determination washed over her. She was done living in fear. As they returned to their planning, they began to laugh again, throwing around ideas for flavors and decorations. The focus had shifted, and for the first time in a long time, Emily felt buoyed by the shared energy in the room. Just when laughter seemed to mend the emotional wounds, the garage door creaked open a third time. This time, a familiar voice pierced through, a voice that sent a chill that wrapped around her heart. "Emily, I need to talk to you," it said, and in that moment, her breath hitched. Who had just walked in, eager to shake the foundation of the fragile peace they were weaving? Emily turned to the doorway, her heart racing as uncertainty filled the air once more. The voice hung like a dark cloud, heavy and ominous. She could hardly believe who stood there, casting a shadow over the gathering. It was Alex, her ex-boyfriend, the one who had walked away so effortlessly years ago. "What were you doing here?" She managed to stammer, a mix of surprise and anxiety tightening her throat. Alex stepped into the garage, his face a mask of unresolved emotions. "I need to talk," he repeated, his tone serious. The group's laughter faded, replaced by a palpable tension that made the air feel thick. Emily could see the curious glances exchanged among her friends. She was torn, part of her wanted to escape this situation, but another part, one that had yearned for closure, wanted to hear what he had to say. "Can we talk somewhere private?" Alex asked, his voice lowered, revealing a crack of vulnerability. Emily looked around at the concerned faces. Jake's brow was furrowed. Ms. Wilson watched with the kind of understanding that told Emily this was her choice. "Fine," she finally said, forcing her feet to move toward the side door leading to the backyard. She needed space, both from the group and from those swirling memories of their shared past. As they stepped outside, the late afternoon sun bathed the yard in golden light, but it did little to warm the chill that gripped Emily's heart. She turned to Alex, arms crossed defensively. "Why now?" she asked, impatience lacing her voice. "After everything?" "I know it's been a long time," he said, running a hand through his hair. "And I don't expect you to forgive me. I've had some time to think about everything, and I realized how much I messed things up." "I should have what? Come back and pretend everything is okay?" Emily interrupted, anger flaring inside her. "You left, Alex. You didn't even bother to explain why." He took a deep breath, visibly struggling to find the right words. "I was scared, okay? Scared of where we were heading. Of commitments and futures. I was young, and I thought running away would solve everything." Emily shook her head, dismissing the excuses she had heard too many times before. "You think I want to hear that? You hurt me. Do you even realize the mess you left behind?" "I didn't just hurt you, I hurt myself too," he replied, his voice low but earnest. "And I've been trying to make sense of it ever since. I came to apologize, to try to make it right." Her mind spun. Apologies were easy, but trust, once broken, was fragile and hard to rebuild. She felt the bitter weight of their shared history pushing against her, battering her resolve. "Why should I believe you?" Emily asked, challenging him fiercely. "What's different this time?" "Because," he said, taking a step closer, "I've really changed. I've worked through my fears, and I'm ready to face the past. I want," he hesitated, searching her eyes for a connection that was long gone. "I want you back in my life. At least as a friend. Can we start there?" His words hung in the air, mingling with the last traces of sunlight. Emily's heart raced with longing and trepidation. After so many years, could she embrace the possibility of reconnecting, even if just as friends? Before she could respond, the ominous sound of another door creaking echoed from inside the garage, momentarily distracting them. Both turned instinctively toward the noise, feeling the burden of unresolved issues looming. "Emily." Jake's voice called from the garage, concern painted across his features. "Everything okay?" Stirred from her internal battle, Emily took a deep breath. She was standing at a crossroads, and the choices ahead were ripe with potential. "Yeah, just a moment," she replied, but her pulse quickened at the weight of Alex's gaze on her. In that moment, everything felt uncertain. What was she really willing to confront, and who would be left standing when the dust settled? The ground beneath her felt shaky, and she knew the next steps would be pivotal. "I have to think about what you said," she finally addressed Alex, the door to possibilities barely ajar. And I hope you understand that. But just as she was about to finish, another sound shattered the moment, a crash that echoed from within the garage, louder and more urgent than before. What was that? Emily's heart dropped. The day was taking another unexpected turn, and the fragile peace she had felt only moments ago threatened to unravel. Emily's heart raced as she exchanged a worried glance with Alex. She could see his expression shift from determination to concern. "Let's check it out," he suggested, eyebrows drawn together, the past moment of vulnerability gone in an instant. "No," Emily protested. "What if something's wrong? What if we shouldn't?" But her words fell away as Jake rushed out from the garage, his face pale and energy frantic. "Emily, I think there might be a problem with the old toolbox." It fell over, and he faltered, breathless. "Something spilled out." "What do you mean spilled out?" she pressed, fear tugging at her stomach. Without waiting for a response, Jake turned back, leading the way as Emily and Alex followed close behind. The garage was dim, the air thick with dust and the scent of aged wood. As they stepped inside, Emily's eyes darted toward the mishap. The toolbox lay upended on the concrete floor, its contents strewn about like a chaotic jigsaw. Amid the scattered screws and wrenches lay something that took her breath away, a small, leather-bound notebook. It looked worn, like it had seen better days, much like the garage itself. Melissa's heart thudded in her chest as she knelt to pick it up. "Is that?" Alex began, eyes wide with realization. "Yes, this was Dad's," Jake confirmed, taking a few steps closer. "I forgot he kept this in here. It's supposed to be full of his old sketches and notes. I didn't think much of it until just now." Emily's mind raced, memories flooding back of nights spent listening to stories about her father-in-law's dreams and unfinished projects. It had been so long since she heard him talk about them. She had thought that part of her husband's life died with his father. Was it possible there was still something left to discover? As she flipped open the notebook, her fingers traced over the familiar handwriting. Scribbled sketches filled the pages, with ideas that seemed to leap from the pages as her heart raced with every turn. "Look at this, Jake," she whispered, pointing to a detailed drawing of a wooden coffee table. "He wanted to build this. It was meant for the family room." Jake leaned in, eyes glimmering with a mixture of nostalgia and affection. "Yeah, he always said he wanted to build one himself." "Isn't this what you've been missing?" Alex spoke softly, his gaze shifting between them. "Maybe he left these behind for you to find." The realization struck Emily like lightning. In the chaos of the past few years, she had buried herself in the responsibilities of her own life, neglecting to honor her husband's dreams. This notebook held possibilities, memories that could breathe life back into their home and their shared history. Suddenly, a wave of determination washed over her. "We have to do something with these ideas." We could. Even the energy in the room shifted. Emily could sense hope sparking in Jake's eyes too, igniting a shared vision of their futures intertwined with the legacy his father had left behind. But before she could finish, a sharp rattling sound cut through the air. They all turned, catching a glimpse of the garage door slowly creaking open. A silhouette appeared just beyond the threshold, casting a shadow on the floorboards. "Emily, Jake?" A voice called out, unfamiliar yet unmistakably urgent. The trio froze. Would this stranger's arrival disrupt everything? As the anticipation built, Emily felt the knot of uncertainty tightening. She wasn't ready to face another storm just yet. What if this was someone who would shatter the fragile hope blooming between them? The moment hung heavy with promise and dread as the figure stepped into the dim light. Emily's breath caught in her throat as the figure stepped into view. It was a woman, an authority figure, police, by the looks of her uniform. Her eyes scanned the room, landing on Emily and Jake, before settling on the scattered chaos around them. "Are you Emily Harper?" the officer asked, her voice steady yet edged with urgency. "Yes," Emily replied, instantly on guard. "What has happened?" "We've received a call regarding several disturbances in the area, and with all the activity here," the officer's voice trailed off, her gaze darting to the upturned toolbox. "Disturbances?" Jake's voice was terse, concern etching deep lines on his forehead. "We're trying to resolve some tensions within the neighborhood," the officer explained, her tone softening. "But it also seems like there's been a complaint about noise coming from this garage." Emily felt a rush of warmth and anxiety. This was the last thing they needed, fear that their community gathering might be seen as a nuisance, a cause for contention instead of healing. "We're just trying to organize a bake sale to raise money for a support center," Emily said earnestly, clenching her fists. "We're working towards something positive." The officer's expression shifted, her brows raising just slightly. "A fundraiser? That sounds commendable. But I need to ensure that everything remains peaceful. We've seen a lot of tension in this area recently, and I want to help." Behind her, a small crowd of neighbors had gathered, whispers buzzing like bees. This was the moment for Emily to take control, to show her community the strength they had built together. "Listen, everyone," she called, her voice rising above the murmurs. "I know things haven't been easy in our neighborhood. But we have worked hard today to start something that can help bring us together and heal old wounds." The energy shifted in the room, a mix of hope and determination swirled. Julia stepped forward, nodding vigorously. "We want to bring back the community spirit. We just had a neighborhood meeting to share ideas about the bake sale." The officer's eyes widened as she listened, her stance softening. "That sounds quite inspiring." Emily took a breath, feeling a spark of courage. "If we can come together, then maybe we can bridge the gaps. This garage isn't just a storage space, it's a reminder of what we can do as a community. It's a place for dreams, just like it was for my husband, and there's room for everyone to contribute." The discussions that had flowed in the garage returned, voices rising in excitement as neighbors chimed in with their own stories and ideas. As the police officer observed, the snapshots of resilience unfolded in front of her, each tale reinforcing the mission they had formulated together. At that moment, Ms. Wilson spoke up, her tone unexpectedly rich with emotion. "I've lived in this neighborhood long enough to know how much we've suffered from misunderstandings. But today, I feel something different. I'm willing to help, to contribute to this bake sale." There were nods and murmured agreements, the collective spirit igniting like wildfire. Jake grinned at Emily, the walls he had built around himself beginning to slide away, revealing the collaborative heart he had long hidden. "I'll help organize the layout for the sale," he said, determination shining in his eyes. "We can create a sign-up sheet." As Ms. Wilson discussed her ideas for homemade recipes, a ripple of optimism spread through the air. Laughter erupted, and the tension that had no longer seemed to grip them dissolved completely. "Wow, this is amazing." The police officer smiled, her stance reflecting the transformation of the garage around them. "I'd like to encourage you to keep going with this. Maybe even let us know how we can support this effort." Emily felt her insides warm, and for the first time, she realized that this was about more than just a bake sale. It was about belonging. It was about a community rising from the shadows and creating something beautiful. Despite the trials they had faced, the crowd mingled, gathered into pairs and small groups. Sharing stories and laughter again, there, they found spirit and strength. It was a revival. The specters of the past slowly receding back as new dreams took their place. In the corner, Marcus caught Emily's eye. He met her gaze with unwavering warmth. "You really did it, Em," he said, pride lighting up his voice. "You pulled everyone together. Your husband would be proud." Tears brimmed in her eyes as her mind drifted to Jason, cradling the dreams they never fully formed. With every connection forged that day, she felt his spirit echoing through the garage. And just when she thought nothing else could surprise her, she felt a familiar hand squeeze hers. Turning, she met Alex's eyes. "I know we have things to work through," he began, vulnerability spilling over, "but I'm here to support you in any way I can, starting with helping with this sale." A smile stretched across her face, one that felt full, free, and alive. Emily realized they were healing not just as individuals, but as an entire community. Each contribution mattered. They were all part of something greater, knitting lives together with laughter, joint struggles, and a shared vision, transforming the past into a compelling future. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the glow of hope radiated from that very garage, eager to illuminate their path forward. The strength was in their bond, and Emily, overwhelmed with emotion, felt ready to face the journey ahead because she was not alone. This time, they would rise together. Now that you've witnessed this incredible transformation, you need to subscribe now and hit that bell for notifications, so you don't miss out on our next exclusive stories that will inspire you even more. Leave a like. Every click counts in feeding the algorithm that allows us to keep creating these heartwarming tales. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about this ending. We want to hear from you. And remember, share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Show your support. Only true fans understand how crucial your actions are to help us grow.